The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to the show, brought to you with Levi Solicitors. 10% discount on your legal fees. levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. It's Dan, Michael, and Rob here as we pick the week's heroes and villains now. The Ken Bates Villain of the Week award, named in honour or shame of our former chairman who caused us lots of misery across the years that he was at Ellen Road. Candidates, please, then, and obviously we've got a load of nominations that have come in from our TSB Plus members who've suggested who they don't like.
James Ward-Prowse,
winning
on volume at this stage. Nothing really that he did wrong. Just as Joe says, we get it. You're good at free kicks. Fuck off, which is fair.
Goldie as well. Ward-Prowse, the show off.
Exactly. So what?
Christine has picked up on me saying something in the match ball that was Southampton need to stop either buying or breeding middle class players because they had Ward-Prowse and Walker-Peters, too many double-barrelled surnames. Christine says, in fact, their double-barrelled surnames probably stem from being born out of wedlock, which makes them a couple of right bastards.
I did look this up, and James Ward-Prowse is the son of a barrister.
Yep.
So I don't know anything about his mum, though. He may have found her on the docks. Who knows? But it's fair to say his dad's probably fairly middle class if he's a barrister. Although his dad did also send him to train at Haventon Waterlooville.
Again, another double-barrelled name.
Is that double barrel or is that just two names?
Close enough.
You don't say James Ward and Prowse, do you? Because that'd be confusing. Even though he was in the youth team at Southampton, his dad sent him there to get kicked in training because he was like, "This'll toughen you up."
Okay.
So maybe he's a bit old school too. I think there's a sitcom in it anyway. The family life of James Ward-Prowse.
Mr. Ward and Mrs. Prowse.
He annoys me by being good at his job, and we also saw it coming a mile off. Who else do we have?
Fabrizio Romano. That's a nice shout from Philip. Fabrizio Clickbait Romano for this past week and every week to come in the transfer window. We know Rafa is going, Fab. Settle down, wee lad.
Do you know what's funny about that, by the way? You know, I got annoyed with him putting out all those stories about Rafinha, so I tweeted him from our account saying, you shouldn't listen to Deco, and then put a clown emoji. Do you know what's happened now?
Blocked you.
No, he's followed us.
So you're expecting the inside track from us, though?
Yeah, if we start getting DMs from him asking what's going on, then I might start feeding him a load of bullshit.
Rodrigo de Paul again, is it?
Yeah.
I have heard that he charges people to go on podcasts, like quite a lot as well, like several £100s. So if you want me to come on and talk about something, it kind of makes you realise it's like a
grift.
It's an industry, is what I'll say it is.
Yeah.
The transfer industry that you know that if you get him on, because he's got some Twitter followers and you can get him on to talk about something, he'll just about get you some more listeners and whatever.
The Rodrigo de Paul thing is an absolute perfect symbol of it. That it was total bollocks. I mean, that went back to just the mental exchange of tweets with Rodrigo de Paul, but we've since found out that there's never anything in it.
No,
never even close.
I think he was someone the club had looked at, but they look at
hundreds
of players all the time.
How much is he? 35 million? No thanks.
Adam Forshaw's probably going to be fine. We don't need him, thank you.
Refs are picked out by Philip Salty. House of Stouts, among others.
Is House of Stouts sneaking in an advert there? Is that a website?
I don't know.
Feels like you might be trying to...
New bar in Leeds.
Trying to get some...
Probably no one would have thought about it until you mentioned, but now you've fallen for the trap.
I'm also Googling House of Stouts. Let's see. If they've snuck an advert, I'm going to invoice you. It's a place for dark beer.
Okay. Go somewhere else.
I'm sure if you like dark beer, it's a perfect place to get them from.
Great. Anyway, back to refs.
Bastards, aren't they? Yeah. Just people pointing to say, just give the pen. Salty or Sally, depending on how my eyes are working. Just give the pen.
Mike Dean's retiring as well. He's going to have to make it about him one more time before the end of the season, isn't he?
Well, he can go and make a spectacle of himself at Tranmere again, can't he? Just as he does.
But wait there, we've got more on Fabrizio Romano then.
Well, he's in the same category, but Deco. Yeah. Just the Canadian Boney M saying he can fuck off and wait until summer. And it is true, like, if he's going to go, fine, he don't need this now. Let him concentrate on his job for a bit longer, just a few more weeks.
He was talking about him back in October or whenever it was when Rafinha first played for Brazil. Deco was immediately talking him up for a move, and it's like, just piss off, he can talk for himself.
Yeah, and even if you're doing all this stuff in the background, shut up. Don't want to, if it's not happening, then I don't need to know about it.
No, exactly. He's not going anywhere now, is he? Because
he's under
transfer window and what have you. So
yeah, I mean, he looks like his head is half elsewhere, doesn't it? He doesn't quite look like his head's in the game at the minute.
I don't know. I thought he was all right on the weekend. He's fine.
It's not the same. He's not playing with the same joy. I think is the fun.
Was it joy or was it anger?
Bit of both.
He did do one of his where he just whacks the ball across field to no one in particular. He did that for the first time I've seen him for weeks.
The cross-field full-back ball.
Yeah, and all the Leeds players look like, whoa, what are you doing? I don't know if that's a sign of his confidence getting back on.
I think that's part of the tactics. I mentioned that, I think, on the match ball, that Southampton did it on one or two occasions where you kind of went, oof, that's high risk, but they always rely on the fact that everyone's over there being smothered by the pressing net, and there'll be somebody over there probably to go get it. Percentage football and all that. Right, who have we got then? What else have we got?
Modern Football gets a nomination from Kisnorbo's kneecap. The Modern Football aspect that he's talking about is the draft excluder behind the wall.
Yeah.
Saying there was no reason to lay Dan James down as a draft excluder for a Ward-Prowse free kick. Don't think he's ever gone low, but Modern Football dictates that we make a young Welsh scum bastard lay on the floor for what? A nice view of the goal from below. And yeah, I guess it doesn't always work. I did see some theories about, if you've got someone as good as Ward-Prowse, you just put a man on the line instead, so then the goalkeeper can be more central and you've kind of got bits of the goal covered off. But then you end up with the thing of everyone swamping the box, don't you? Because obviously they played on side. So
I don't think Dan James would have been much use on the post either, because he's not the tallest guy, is he?
Well, I bet he can jump high. He's very springy. He's a springy little scum bastard.
Yeah, maybe that's what you have to do against Ward-Prowse. Man on each post, keeper in the middle,
everyone on the line.
Wall, draft excluder. It would have worked, wouldn't it? It would have kept it out.
I mean, you might have just passed it square for someone else to score. That's the problem. If you start using up all your players for that.
I hadn't thought about that. Bloody hell. I also like Kisnorbo's kneecap for picking out Toshak. That's Cameron Toshak, isn't it? Who's on our coaching team, for still not having learned who everybody is. This is like the new fella at work who calls you mate for 2 years because he never actually remembered your name.
Was he at fault for the failed sub?
It was really strange because obviously Greenwood was going to come on, and then it was Strauch's coming on, and then the board actually went up with the 2 for Ayling.
Yeah.
And they went, no, that's not the change. And then a minute later, Jesse Marsh turned around and Luke Ayling stood next to him. So I don't really know what happened there. But yeah, I think Moscow said on the match ball that does worry him, and I kind of agree with him, to be honest.
Admin, sort out your admin. Calvin,
not for anything he's done on the pitch. For his
because he made a child happy. Do you see the video of him making a child happy on his birthday?
That was lovely. And he wasn't in fancy dress either, which is he was dressed in normal.
But how can you tell the difference these days?
Normal young man sportswear is what he was dressed in.
We did collectively look into Calvin's Yorkshire pudding boots, didn't we? And they are from it's an Irish fashion designer who works for the House of Lowe, which is a leather-based fashion house in Spain. I had a look on their website for their. I mean, this stuff at the minute is not even out. It's fresh from the catwalk, so it's probably been given to him to wear to be photographed. Because he's now that important. Is Calvin? He's a trendsetter, isn't he? But their other stuff, like the shoes and boots, similar to that, about £500 or £600 for a pair of those, I reckon. Maybe slightly more because they're the new collection. How does that make you feel?
It's not for me.
As a man who may buy or may not. I might be being unfair here. Buy shoes from Aldi's middle aisle.
None of my current shoes are from Aldi's middle aisle.
Have you in the past?
I think I did buy some boots from there once.
I did see some safety boots in there this week.
I think I went for like a walking boot or something from there once.
Good value. But your Yorkshire pudding shoe, no?
They don't fulfil anything for me. They look like they'd be a hazard. You could trip on them, which I think is probably the last thing you want from a pair of shoes, because they've got extra width to them. They're like the size of like a comedy slipper. Well, that would be like a gorilla foot or something. It's
a bag shoe hybrid. That's how it's listed online. Like people saying it's a combination of like a handbag but in a shoe form. Well, I say handbag but bag.
I mean, it's
Michael's just bewildered.
I prefer it to him just wearing generic Balenciaga gear. I quite like that he's just gone out there.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, and I think the jacket as well was by the same designer in the same collection. So there must be some sort of things going on there.
It's weird because obviously the kind of the standard bearer for this stuff now is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who does it in a very. He kind of takes himself quite seriously with it. Calvin looked like a lad dicking around in it. I
like how he's still Calvin, getting all this sort of thrust upon him, and he looks like he can't believe any of this is happening as well, which is nice. I mean, I did see Calvert-Lewin did an interview with GQ and like a fashion spread, which came out this weekend, I think, and the Everton fans didn't really take too kindly to that.
We're in a relegation battle.
It's hard. It's a hard sell when you're in the process of being relegated.
I was going to say it's in the same way that, but a different level, that the Man United fans are turning on Rashford because he gives a shit about humanitarian things. So the same, concentrate on your football because you've been shit at that. And it's the same sort of thing, but lower down the league, isn't it? So.
I think old Calvin Phillips, before everyone thought it was good, I'm sure he got criticised for having had a haircut at one point.
Yeah, it was the end of the Heckingbottom season when he had a haircut and people went absolutely mental.
How's he got time for that?
Yeah.
Time to have your haircut. He only worked 2 hours a day training.
Probably less with Hecky.
It was worth adding, I think the photos of his Yorkshire pudding shoes were taken in Brighouse, which feels like a brave move, walking around Brighouse.
The fashion capital of the world, arguably. What was he doing in Brighouse?
I don't know. There's that curry house there, isn't there, that's good. I think a number of the players have been there before, so maybe they're going out for a cuzzer.
Imagine you get chicken tikka over those shoes. Were they suede or something? It's never coming off.
Well, Jelly's described them as Cornish pasties and steak bake sliders for the summer. Yeah, not for me.
Not for me, but you know what? He's still Calvin doing it, which is funny. Because I'm sure if you asked him about it, if you asked Dominic Calvert-Lewin about it, he'd give a long answer about, how he's pushing boundaries and stuff. Calvin had just got, I don't know, he's got it sent to me. I thought they looked funny.
Like when he got asked at Tottenham why he's playing centre-half. Don't know.
Martin's described them as size 10 crispy wontons. And Rich AD has suggested he's shown up looking like one of the Seven Dwarfs. I need to look at the Seven Dwarfs footwear now.
Yeah, they do have a slightly homespun, just wrap a bit of leather around your foot and tie it.
Yeah,
sort of vibe going on. Any other food stuffs we can liken them to? We've got
they do look a bit
the
like
wonton, the pasty, a gyoza, bit of a gyoza.
That's posh, isn't it? Yeah. Don't get those in Brighouse.
Get them from Costco.
I'm just looking at the Seven Dwarfs feet. I see it. Yeah, it's absolutely right. Good shout, that one.
Anyway, Calvin's done it. And so it's fine.
Yeah, of course it is.
If Tyler Roberts had done it, there'd be a backlash.
Who's the happy couple?
Some people who got engaged.
Was it not a renewing of vows or something?
I don't know. I missed it entirely. Moscow told me about it.
All right, okay. They I think they were all the way from Norway, so it's their big day out. It's been called out by this person. Morley Ryan's not happy.
Morley Ryan, who is recently divorced, I believe, and very bitter about this. I've no idea. I mean, the reason I didn't know about it is because there was no chanting. Remember the classic occasion at Huddersfield where there were...
You don't know what you're doing.
You don't know what you're doing. There was a woman screaming at Huddersfield fans to fuck off, basically, while she was trying to read a poem and stuff.
The poem, yes, the poem.
It was brilliantly anarchic. This was a bit too low key, I would say.
Southampton players were picked out. West Stand Ralph, the time wasting. They weren't as bad as others, I don't think, but there were some very noticeable bits of time wasting. And they always go down between 60 and 70 minutes for their customary gel and drinks break. That happened, and it was 67 minutes. I think the keeper and the centre half went down. Yeah,
you've watched this back actually. Was there any contact? Because I didn't think there was at the time. Forster and was it Walker Peters?
No, certainly not. Walker Peters went down holding his head, and it was nowhere near his head.
Yeah,
they did sort of brush shoulders, but
yeah, because my instinct was that he'd faked that because I didn't think he'd got anywhere near his head, and that's definitely what he was.
And it was annoying that
what he was holding.
The rest of the Southampton players played on until Leeds got the ball, and then the ref went, "Oh no, we'll have to stop it now."
That was really annoying because that was basically a free attack for them.
Yeah,
because the rule was basically as long as you've got it, we're going to play on. As soon as possession changes, we're going to have to stop this, which I think is not fair.
They had the cheek to dispute the drop ball as if they should have had it.
If you caught propaganda, there was a fella on there called Sai who was not happy at Marsh's style of football. Sai has continued his, are we going to call it a rant? This one is now directing his ire towards the board and all those that brought Marsh to the club. I don't blame him. He's just taking the opportunity, but for fuck's sake, after the beauty of Bielsa ball, you expect us to watch this abysmal style of play, which apparently the Ellen Road fans need to learn when to cheer and when not to cheer to make it work, and not to worry when the players stand around with the ball and go down to 70% effort. If I did that at work, I'd be sacked and the drive-through queue would be all the way down the M62 to Brough. I mean, it's an opinion, isn't it?
It is.
It is an opinion.
It remains to be seen. I'm not convinced by it as yet, but equally I'm sort of pleased to not see us being cut open every 10 minutes at the moment. So I feel like it needs to get a bit more easy to watch, a bit more pleasing on the eye before I'm going to be fully committed to it.
Mm-hmm.
But equally, if we can win another 2 or 3 games this year doing it, fine for now. Just get me out of this season. I just want it to end. I just want the summer.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the acid test will be next season, won't it? Seeing what the recruitment looks like and how it then beds in on the field. Anyway, let's pick a villain of the week. Ken Bates' villain of the week goes to...
I mean, Ward Prowse on just for doing that, I suppose.
Yeah, he's the direct...
Predictable as well, boring. Everyone knew it.
We would have been a lot happier without him doing that as well, wouldn't we?
Everyone knew he was going to put it there, and he did. Why not go against expectation sometimes?
Put it wide.
Put it into the wall. Kick it at Dan James as the wall jumps. Really punish the little scum bastard.
Okay, so yeah, you can have that then. I think quite low on the villainy scale, generally speaking. He's not...
he's just a man doing his job, isn't he?
Yeah.
Doing it well.
But even still, he did cause us misery, so
exactly
fine.
No one said it was fair.
The Gaetano Berardi Hero of the Week award, somebody who's brought a smile to our face across the last 7 days. A number of Leeds players nominated. Should we go through them? We've got Cooper, Calvin, Rodrigo, Stewie Dallas. Bielsa gets another nomination, but specifically by the Canadian Boniem, who says Bielsa just so Moscow can talk about him some more. So Moscow's not here, so we can skip
still
past
probably
that.
Is talking about him though, just to himself.
Yeah,
in the shower.
Clicky gets a mention as well by Fergus McLeeds, but it's the sole nomination. So Cooper gets the most, I think.
Yeah, definitely, and was brilliant. Like surprisingly so after so long out to come back and play that well.
And there's only 50% of a Cooperism on the halfway line, says Jelly. Because it was kind of, he got a little bit caught, but then he rescued it with his little stooped header.
I'm still defending Cooper on that. I think he positions his body well. I think he realises he's not as fast as Broja going through. He recognises he's not as fast, so he gets his body in the way and does the floor header, which is absolutely textbook.
Yeah,
you see that.
It's well executed, wasn't it?
You see it every day. That sort of thing.
That's what Marsh has been teaching him.
Wait, did Berardi once do a slide tackle with his head? But I imagine this. I'm sure there was once a time in the box when he was already on the ground. He threw his head at someone shooting about an inch away.
It sounds like the type of thing he'd do.
Anyway, more floor headers.
Yes.
Concentrate on that.
Yeah, there was Gouldy, Scrooge, Ralph, Boniem, Katie, Jelly, Salty among the others who nominated Cooper.
But yeah, the organisation and leadership stuff, I think, is probably something that we overlook for Liam Cooper. I know Phil Hayes written a piece as well about saying how Bielsa was always the first centre-back that he would choose as well. So it's interesting that another manager has come in and done exactly the same thing. So
I guess we should talk about that this week on the Phil Hayes Show, actually, get Phil's take on it. Calvin Phillips' dress sense, the backlash against the backlash has started here. Calvin Phillips' dress sense suggests Calvin Phillips is the hero of the week. Great to see him back on the pitch in appropriate footwear.
Yeah, it was good just to know he is still there and can hopefully get 5 or 6 full games in before the end of the season.
And to see him not limp off as well was nice.
I think it was seeing him and Cooper on the pitch. I guess probably because Bielsa never moaned about it. It means that it's probably not talked about quite enough just how completely shit this year has been with injuries, and also possibly because Bielsa was maybe the underlying cause of some of them, with the workload and stuff. But he just never talked about it, did he? So as a result, we just kind of went, oh well, we've just got to get on with this then. But seeing him back, you're like, oh yeah, and being able to have a central midfielder on the bench with some experience is wild. These feel like real extravagances in this season. But yeah, just to have options there is lovely.
The other big nominee is Rodrigo, who he seems like a man reborn, doesn't he, at the minute?
The young man
reborn. Yeah, loads of people. Dave, Martin, Joe, Kisnobo's kneecap back in the mentions again. Everyone really, really happy with him. As I said on the match ball, maybe he just needed to not run around quite so much.
I mean, his roles, am I being unfair thinking, well, why didn't you do this for the previous 18 months? Because he's been quite... when Bielsa was here, I was always trying to see the best in him, but he was pretty unconvincing, wasn't he? And maybe Marsh deserves credit for his man management, for putting an arm around the shoulder and bringing him into this leadership group and giving him more of a role. But I think he did have a really important role under Bielsa, and he didn't do it very well. I think, and I don't think his role has changed a great deal. You know, everyone was expecting him to play as a number 9. Now Marsh is back, and he's not, is he? He's playing as a 10.
I think all the stuff we were talking about, like the narrowness of the formation and everyone being stood a lot closer together, maybe that just plays to his strengths in that he can do those little interchanges of passes a little bit easier when you're not having to ping your balls over 20 or 30, 40 yards, but actually someone's closer and you can just give go. And I think because technically he looks really good. What he was tending to do was getting caught in possession or being ponderous on the ball, or maybe spraying a pass, an easy pass would go to a defender. But if everyone's closer together, I think you have to kick it as far, do you?
I think in his worst games as well, it was when you had maybe, it felt like Klich was left playing midfield by himself because Rodrigo was, at least in theory, as a midfielder. And so you'd feel like he was just being walked past far too easily, whereas I guess in the new formation, he doesn't have to do as much.
Well, I'm saying
he's not expected to do the same defensive work as he did before.
Exactly. If he tries to do a little give and go in front of Southampton's penalty area and it breaks down, you've got two midfielders stood behind you who can tidy up the problem, and you can then fall back into the zonal shape and stuff. And maybe it is that more pragmatic, slightly more negative approach is to his benefit. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, after the Villa game, I didn't really care if we sold him there and then, I've got to be perfectly honest. But since then, he's been probably our best player across the game since then.
Mad old game, innit?
So maybe he is actually really good. I mean, there was talk of him and Rafinha being the two that were kind of the most sick of all the Bielsa stuff as well, of like the workload and what have you. Which
I think I'm just a bit bitter because at the end of Bielsa it was bloody Dan James up front, Rodrigo as a number 10, Koch in midfield, and since then Marsh has come in and gone, well, yeah, Robin Koch can play midfield, Dan James can play up front, and Rodrigo plays number 9.
I do genuinely think there is something in the fact that they're all a bit closer together, though, because it's harder to give the ball away, isn't it, if your mates are stood closer? I don't know.
Yeah, I like that he's running around as well, and I wish he'd have done that more under Bielsa, like with a bit more intensity.
Yeah, Rob Price gets a mention for getting Calvin and Coop. Jesse's not calling him Coops.
No.
Coop.
And he's calling him... Is he still calling him Loriente?
I don't know. But he's gone back on the pitch. That's why Rob Price is mentioned.
I noticed he called Christopher Clarkson Christoph as well, which maybe is a...
Yeah, I think he's misunderstood. I think someone said that you pronounce Lorente with a... It's with the Spanish pronunciation. It's like you need to insert like a y in it, and he's going, oh, Loriente, and they've gone, yeah, that's near enough. Fine, you go with that one.
Michael Stuart Dallas, he saved the game for us to some extent, didn't he? After Meslier did that save, put his body on the line. I really, really liked what he did there. I thought it was an exceptional piece of defending to use his body as he did and to turn it out and direct the ball in the right way. Fair play to the man. I love him.
He gets one every week, does Dallas, I think.
He's always good. He just always does the right thing, it seems. I love him. Like, I can't believe how much I've gone from being incredibly indifferent to him to just thinking he's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. And just to return to the single solitary Klich nomination, Fergus McLeeds wants to nominate Matthijs Klich for Klich. That's all. It's just a one word.
Just a name.
Just a one word nomination. And I
think that was pre-Fuck Off Bob as well. Was that nomination? I think Steve was nominating him for playing well. And
outside the parish, Alex Iwobi and Frank Lampard are given some nominations, a collective Everton nomination. I think just that mess up for their goal, for West Ham's second goal, was appreciated from a Leeds point of view. I'm glad
Iwobi's making mistakes as well, because the game against us, he looked like one of the best players I've ever seen, which I'm aware is not consistent with his overall vibe, because I think Everton fans are, generally speaking, fairly pissed off with him having paid like 35 million quid or something stupid for him.
Mad world, isn't it? Where did they get him from?
Arsenal.
All right.
Arsenal fans couldn't believe they got that much money for him.
Where did Arsenal get him from?
Arsenal.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I mean, I could Google this and find out.
I think he was in their youth team.
Okay. Well, that feels like a lot of money, doesn't it? Premier League's mental, isn't it?
But yeah, I think it was a bit of a Jack Clark offer where you kind of get it and you go, maybe we weren't looking to sell necessarily, but yeah, for that price.
Yeah, came through the youth ranks at Arsenal.
I saw that Iwobi was playing central midfield as well at the weekend.
Sadly.
Those Van der Beek and Dele Alli moves have gone brilliantly for them.
£28 million initial fee, plus the rest.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And Frank Lampard just for continuing to be a shite manager. More of the same, please, Frank.
Yeah, keep it going.
He does also. Matt does also say, obviously, don't actually give him this award.
Yeah, God, no, we wouldn't want to validate him like that. Is it Cooper then? Because he's the sort of leading candidate on this one, I think.
Yeah, he probably doesn't get enough love and respect, does he, Cooper?
Oh, we haven't mentioned the work by Rafinha to keep that ball in. By the way, that needs a nod.
Nah, he's off. Fuck him.
No, we need to doff the cap. If we have a cap, let's give a little.
Calvin's probably got one. Now he started dressing half like a Victorian scrote with pasty feet.
Right. I think that's
he did do well, did Rafinha. It was a messy run because he kind of bashed it off the defender and
a new word
and wriggled his way through, didn't he? But yeah, good determination.
Yeah, the fact that he got there. Yeah, maybe he does care after all. Maybe he does care. But it's Cooper then. I'm in this one.
Yeah,
nice one. Right. Well, that wraps up the weekly show. We'll be back next week with reaction to Watford victory at Watford.
Draw at Watford. Fine.
Previewing the distant game against Crystal Palace in Thornton Heath, no less. Thornton Heath. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll speak to you in a bit. Bye-bye.
The Square Ball Podcast.